My fellow UFC addicts, what is up? It is Max with the Parlay Princes. We are here with a good segment. We're going to talk about Brazilians in the UFC. The demons themselves. I don't know about you, but when I'm betting and I see my fighter I like fighting a Brazilian, I get super shook. Brazilians are the dogs of the UFC. Sorry, Mexicans, you're out. Brazilians have taken over. On the ground, standing. This all started because of Anderson Silva, the Spider, one of my favorite fighters ever. Started early, 2006, 2008, had a crazy run, like 10 title defenses. Towards the end of his career, absolutely got shattered, but one of my favorite fighters. That's what inspired this whole segment. We're going to talk about 5 of my favorite Brazilian girl fighters. They have to be ranked. Then we're going to talk about 10, really 11 male fighters that are my favorite Brazilians based off style, based off how excited I get when they fight. So we're going to dive in, boys, right now. Quick intro. Like, subscribe, comment for future news, picks, all that stuff. Me talking shit. Without further ado, let's dive in. Mayra Bueno Silva is at number 5 for my favorite girl Brazilian UFC fighter. She started in 2018. She's got 11 fights in the UFC. A little bit of a sketchy record, 5 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, 1 no contest. But when she steps in the octagon, you know you're going to see some shit. Her last fight covered in absolute blood. I would have passed out by then, but she said, nah, let's keep going. And that's why we love Brazilians, guys. Fucking dogs. If they can't win the fight, they're going to at least go out on their shield 95% of the time. Even for a girl like Bueno Silva, I know that I can bet on her and she's going to fight for my money. So Bueno Silva, thank you. You are at number 5. Not much to say there. Number 4. We're going to try and go through the girls a little quicker, guys, because the guys is really where the demons are. Jessica Andrade. I was very shocked that she actually started in the UFC 2013. She has 28 UFC fights, 17 wins, 11 losses. And again, I know she's going to fight for my money. It was a tough pick when it's Brazilian versus Brazilian. When it comes to Jessica Andrade, I'm like, shit, now what do I do? But if Jessica Andrade is fighting an American, I'm putting my money on the Brazilian. And that's how it goes over here. I'm definitely biased towards Brazilians. I started dating my girlfriend a little bit over a year ago. And for the first 2 months when we started dating, Brazilians would not lose. So I feel like dating my girlfriend was an absolute cheat code for betting on Brazilians. But Andrade, you can't hate it. Crazy with the hands, not much on the ground, but you know she's gonna come out swinging like Michael Chandler. This is the female Michael Chandler here, boys. She was even giving Natalia Silva a run for her money a little bit. Towards the 3rd round, she was clipping her with these big meaty hooks. Shout out Lucas Tracy. So that's why I had to put Jessica Andrade at number 4. Number 3, Tabatha Ricci. Got the fat ass. No, I'm kidding. Tabatha Ricci barely made this list. There wasn't really much else to pick from. So we put Tabatha Ricci at 3. Been in the UFC since 2021. 9 fights, 6 wins, 3 losses. And it has been to some fucking killers. I'm going to put like their last fights on the screen. I'm not going to go over them. Is too much for me to flip back and forth, but you can see it there. Ricci, her last fight against Jan Zenon, I believe that's how you say it. Probably not at all. She has to work on her striking. She has to work on her striking. When she's fighting someone with no takedown ability, I'm all for it. When it's someone that has hands, as we just saw in her last fight, not a good look. And she is dating Caleb, so I need you guys training every morning, not just in the bedroom. You feel me? That's it. Tabatha Ricci again. She's going to fight for your money. Depends who the fighter is, but we're okay putting Tabatha Ricci points for 90% of her fights. And the judges love her butt cheeks, so we saw that against Angela Hill. Number 2, my future ex-wife, Norma Dumont. 10 fights in the UFC, 8 wins, 2 losses. She absolutely spazzed her last fight. Against a vet. You can't hate it. She's definitely on the come up. She's good on the ground. She's good standing. Again, just fights for your money and skill for skill. I can trust my Brazilian sister, Norma Dumont. and she's also beautiful to look at. We are flying, boys. This one was a no-brainer for me. Natalia Silva at number 1 for my favorite Brazilian girl UFC fighter. Been in the UFC since 2022, 6 fights, won them all. Started off getting KOs viciously, and then as she's fought better competition, it's gone decision. But again, bro, fighting style is insane. An amazing kickboxer. I believe she's either kickboxer or Muay Thai. I want to say kickboxing. Super quick kicks. And she's getting better at the takedown defense. So we've had a lot of fun betting Natalia Silva. We were doing KO for a hot minute, and then we decided we had to switch the points here. She's fighting better competition. As we just saw in Andrade, it wasn't a clean sweep. I believe she won 30-27, if I'm not mistaken, but I was scared, boys. That third round, I was scared. But Natalia Silva could definitely be a future champ. I've seen this, I can't say from the beginning, but the past year and a half, I've said this could be a super champion right here, future champion. So Natalia Silva is number 1 for female girl fighters. Here we go, boys. Now for the heavy hitters, the men, my favorite Brazilian men fighters that are ranked. Paulo Costa. No, I'm kidding. This is not about who's the funniest. I need to see some W's, boys. Vincente Luque is at number 10. Look at Vincente Luque. You could just tell this guy is a demon. He ain't going anywhere. Just that he's got the same face all the time. He's just like, I would definitely pass fighting him. He's been in the UFC since 2015. 21 fights, 16 wins, 5 losses. That's an amazing record. And even with the brain bleed, this goes back to these guys are fucking dogs. The brain bleed would have made 95% of people fucking quit. We thought we saw a crazy decline after the Buckley fight, but it just turns out Buckley's that good. So I'm not mad at Luque for that fight. Buckley's a demon as well. And Luque's last fight, this guy ain't going anywhere, bro. So I'm excited to see Vincente Luque. This could be the resurgence. A lot of these motherfuckers, bro, you think that their shit's over, psych, they dye their hair silver, and now they're back. So we might need a hair dye for Luque, but Luque is back, boys. That thumba submission was nasty. Number 9, I got Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns. You guys know the story. If Gilbert Burns beat Brady, I would have turned $4 into $900 and swept the card. Yes, I'm addicted to sweeping the card. I'm sorry, boys. It's called the Parlay Princess for a reason. I think I'm God over here. Number 9, Gilbert Burns. Been in the UFC since 2014. 23 fights, 5 wins, 8 losses. Okay record. He's winning about 66% of his fights, roughly. Gilbert Burns. The first thing I think of is the Chimaev fight. The guy is amazing on the ground, stuffing takedowns. He's got great hands, too. Drop Chimaev. And the issue with Burns, he's been fighting killers recently. He almost won by points against JDM. I had Burns points that night, too. Guys, those losses I'm not mad at. The Sean Brady one, one guy super showed up. Burns didn't show up to his fullest abilities, and I'm okay with that, guys. It's like it's one of those boys where it's like, bro, I'm gonna put your money on you because I know what I'm dealing with, and if you lose, it's okay. I still got your back. That's how I feel about Gilbert Burns. I am excited to see more of him. I know his last couple fights. I think the last 5. I think he's only won like 2 or 3, but maybe even just 1. He might be 4-1, 1-4 in his last 5. I forget. But I fuck with my guy Burns heavily. Next, we got Ian Garry.
O campeão do mundo vai de novo. Ele ganhou o cinturão ano que vem.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. What do we got here? Alexandre, I believe that's how you say it, Pantoja at number 8. He's been in the UFC since 2017. He's had 16 UFC fights, 13 wins, 3 losses. Amazing record. Pantoja's a demon. He's literally swept this division. It's like when you have a double master's and you can't find a job because you're too overeducated. That's the issue we have with Pantoja. They're bringing in people from fucking down the block. They're like, hey, you want to fight Pantoja? Then they get swept in less than 7 minutes. I don't know why you would rush Asakura like that, because if he loses, now what do you do? It's like the easiest math. It's like, why would you do that? Pantoja, great on the feet, great on the ground, absolute demon. I don't know when to not bet against it. I don't know when to bet against this guy because it doesn't seem possible. Again, just demon. That's the other thing about Brazilians. Just they're always very well rounded. It's like even if they're only good at the ground, they have a chin. Or if they're only good standing, they actually have good takedown defense too because they're used to fucking BJJ. You gotta love it. We're gonna talk about some more killers here. We're gonna talk about some more killers. Let's see what we got here. Number 7. This is the other thing we'll talk about. ESPN got to do better with these photos. This shit is disgusting. This is apparently Renato Moicano. Renato Moicano, I'll put him at number 7. Been in the UFC since 2014. Been here for 10 years. Shout out my guy Money. 17 fights, 12 wins, 5 losses. I truly believe we're going to see way more from Moicano. His next fight against Dariush, I will be a sucker, and I'm putting bread on fucking Moicano until further notice. I was proud of myself too because I have originally picked BSD, and then the day before, or maybe even like a couple of fights before the fight started, I pick flipped. I hit my head and it knocked some sense into me. I'm like, wait a second. Why is Moicano a plus 250 against BSD? I snapped out of it. Thank God I did. Moicano won demon time. I think we're going to see more of that too, boys. Against Jalen Turner. Again, Jalen Turner dropped his ass. Moicano was still there. Dogs. Fucking dogs. You gotta love Moicano. Goes on the mic and spazzes too. Easy pick. Next, we got Caio Borralho. I believe I said that right. We put him at number 6. Only been in the UFC for a little bit since 2022. 7 fights, all wins, and he's actually on a 16-fight win streak. Demonic. And he's getting to the point where he's starting to fight some more veteran killers, and he's doing pretty damn good, boys. Hasn't fought the craziest competition before that, but I'm excited to see what this guy does. I do believe he could be champ. I think the fight IQ is insane. All the fighting nerds are insane, fight IQ wise. We're gonna talk about them in a little bit too. But Caio, I get excited when he fights, and I can definitely lay my money on this guy. So someone I trust, someone I like the style, someone I know that's super well-rounded, and his fight IQ is insane. So shout out my guy Caio. Excited to see more from that demon. Next, Gene Silva at number 5. I was very shocked to find out he started fighting in the UFC this year. He had one Contender Series fight, I believe, last year, but he really started fighting in the UFC in 2024. He has 3 wins, all KOs, and he's on an 11-fight win streak. Against Drew Dober, I stood on top of my building, and I warned everybody to pick against Gene Silva against Drew Dober. I'm like, he's going up in weight to fight my guy Dober. No. And what happened, boys? What happened? We lost a lot of money that day. I'm sorry. Gene Silva's a demon. Even against Charles Jourdain, bro, that fucking uppercut he hit him with, it's just... These guys have power. These guys know when to strike, and when they strike, it's absolutely lethal. We're going to talk about Prates, too. Don't worry. Like, bro... I don't get how they have the scopes. They have like a laser pointer in their fucking eyes, and they're like, bink, and then you just go to sleep. It's insane. So shout out to Fighting Nerds. I would love to meet them one day. I need a Fighting Nerd photo right in the middle. No Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Legendary. I'll frame that shit somewhere in here. On this day, I am a Fighting Nerd. I start crying and shit. Number 4, the legend, Jose Aldo. Again, ESPN, what the fuck are you doing? Disgusting. Change your photos. Jose Aldo at number 4. Has been fighting since 2011. 22 fights, 14 wins, 8 losses. Jose Aldo, bro. Fucking Mario Bautista, bro. You fucking asshole. You gotta love Aldo, bro. The crowd fucking loves Aldo. You gotta love him. Doggy... Obviously on a slight decline, he's older, but Just very well-rounded. The fight IQ is there. He had to be the punching bag for Conor McGregor that one fight. I'm sorry, Aldo. Lucky shot. But again, just the vet, not in his prime anymore, but we got to show respect to Jose Aldo. Every time he fights, I'm standing up, I'm screaming. Fighting style is there, and we can still bet on him. Crazy, we can still bet on him. Number 3, Diego Lopes, the emo kid. This is another shocking to me. Started fighting the UFC in 2023, 6 fights, 1 loss. I believe he had a Contender Series fight and lost that shit. And then he came back and started doing damage. Diego Lopes, bro. I don't know when I'm going to stop betting on this man. Against Ortega, I said, let's get it, Diego Lopes, all day and night. Everybody remembers that punch combo. I believe it was like a right and then a left, and Ortega's head was like boom, and he fell asleep and then woke back up because the other punch. Like, bro, that's what you're getting with Lopes. And he's nasty on the ground, too. He just doesn't have to do that shit. I think with Ortega, he was trying to prove a point a little bit, but, you know, we saw him standing. We saw him do shit Yair Rodriguez couldn't even do. So, man, Diego Lopes, very excited for his future. In his prime or right before it. I actually don't know how old he is, but I know he's not, like, over 30. Let me double check on that, because I could just be fucking yapping right now. That emo kid, if he ever shaves that hair, boys, it's over. It's over for us. Never. This is Diego Lopez's photo, too. This is Diego Lopes, guys, according to ESPN. Yeah, Lopes is 29. Right before his prime, right in his prime. We're going to see so much from Diego Lopes. I'm excited. We're just getting started, boys. Diego Lopes. Number 2, we got Carlos Prates. I am a little biased here because he smokes cigarettes. I just started smoking cigarettes as well. Why? I don't know. That's because I quit weed. That's really why. Prates will smoke a cigarette before the fight, fuck up his opponent, and then smoke a cigarette after the fight, and then go home and fucking jerk off. I don't know. But Prates, absolute demon. Same thing. Started fighting in 2024. He has 4 fights in the UFC, all wins by KO. Another fighting nerd where he was fighting Giles, and I was trying to warn people, like, yo, I know Giles' chin is gone, but this is a vet versus a prospect. It's one of those where I was expecting a prospect killer. Giles was doing okay the first round, but Prates, man, it's once he finds his shot, you know, he did it against Radke, did it against Neil Magny. What's another one recently? I can't remember, actually. Prates. I forget. Demon, though. Again, once he just finds his opening, it's there, and the time it takes from him to throw the punch and for it to land, it's just too quick for anybody. It's absolutely insane. Has he even gone to the 3rd round yet? I don't even think so. So it is kind of interesting to see how these guys do in 5-rounders. But Prates, just some of the nastiest Muay Thai. He's got Muay Thai on his chest. Stay far away from him if you don't want to get knocked the fuck out. Love Prates. Excited to see his future as well. Number 1, and this isn't the GOAT. We're actually doing champion as number 1. Number 1, you guys might have guessed this, Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Been in the UFC since 2010, bro. 34 UFC fights, 23 wins, 10 losses, 1 no contest. And a lot of us know the story. He was doing okay when he first joined the UFC, had his moments, started declining, and then fucking changed his life around. And here we are. Or it's demon time for Charles Oliveira. This is one of those fighters where I scream at the TV. The 5th round with Chandler, I was about to throw up. I'm like, no, don't do this to me, Oliveira. Crazy. On the ground, this guy's throwing elbows, cutting people up from his back. It's just a little chinny, but he fights for your money, and he's not going out. Recently, he's not going out unless he's out. Like, we saw Gaethje drop him twice. What happened? He got back up, you know? You gotta love it. These guys are way more demon. Like, I'm okay with pain. I've been hit by a car and snapped my femur in half and tried to stand up. Like, granted, my body wasn't in shock, but I'm pretty good with pain. These guys are on a different level. I'm not Brazilian. I'm not even gonna act like I'm even close to that shit. But Charles Oliveira, he's going to retire at some point. It's going to be sad. We might have to frame a fucking Charles Oliveira photo in here, on God, next to Dan Hooker. My bleach blonde homies with tats. The champion, boys, I think you see this coming as well. Alex Pereira. Been in the UFC since 2021. 10 fights, only 1 loss. That was to Israel Adesanya. And he's only gone the distance twice. I don't know how Bruno Silva went the distance with Pereira. That's an enigma right there. That MMA math ain't mathin'. But shout out Bruno Silva for going the distance and not getting clipped like Sean Strickland. The Sean Strickland fight was mad funny because the stream cut out right before, and when the TV turned back on, it literally looked like Sean Strickland slept Pereira. Because Strickland was walking around and Pereira was leaning on the cage. So we're like, oh my God. We all had Sean Strickland that night too, except one kid. So we're like, you fucking suck. Strickland's the GOAT. And then it showed the replay. The kid stood up. He's like, You gotta love when the stream cuts out, boys. But Alex Pereira, absolute demon time. I was there at UFC 281 when he took the belt from Izzy at MSG. And a lot of us UFC addicts, we remember the TV showing the trailers for Alex Pereira. This guy's coming into the UFC. He's the shadow of Israel Adesanya. Will he do it? Bro, this guy has done it. And then some. This guy's turned into Conor McGregor. This guy is saving events. And he's a dog. He's getting clipped by Roundtree. He's fine. Jesus. That's it, boys. We're wrapping it up there. My Brazilian brothers, you guys are fucking demons in a good way. That was not an insult. And I'm excited to see 2025 with some Brazilian fighters just slinging it out. And I will be betting on you. Let's fucking get it. We appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. We'll be back. Peace, boys.